Hello, good evening.
Hello, teacher. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you, Fernando. How are you today?
An excellent day.
That's good to hear. Good to hear. How was your week this week?
How was very well.
Yeah, busy?
Yeah. More or less busy. Other day, on the rest of the day, paseando, ¿cómo se decía? Paseando. Visit the park.
Visiting the park.
Visiting the park.
Sounds like a great week. Sounds like a great week you have had.
Yes.
Yeah, very nice. Okay. It's good that you have time to relax. Eh? Hello, good evening, Nancy.
Hello, good evening.
Good.
How are you?
Very well, thank you, Nancy. Hello, good evening, Danielle. How are you?
Hello, good evening, Stephen. I'm fine, and you?
Very well, thank you for asking. Yeah. Now we're just about see Marcos like this. That's it. Yeah, now we can see you, Marcos. But we can't hear you. Hello, Marcos. Hello. Hello, Marcos. We can't hear you, Marcos. Okay, well, let's begin anyway. Okay, so when we hear you, Marcos, we'll ask you questions. Okay, so let's start with the word rid and to get rid of. What's the best way to rid ourselves of someone who's causing us trouble? What's the best way to rid ourselves of someone who's causing us trouble, Fernando? The best way
to
rid ourselves of someone who's causing us trouble.
Someone who's causing a trouble is
not causing a trouble, causing us trouble.
Causing us trouble
is to
tell them to leave.
To leave, yeah. Tell them to go away.
Hello.
Away, yes.
Do you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Marcos. Yes. Can you hear us? We can hear you, Marcos. We can hear you. Okay, what would I expect you to do if I told you to get rid of this pen, Nancy? What would I expect you to do if I asked you to get rid of this pen? If you told me to get rid of that pen,
that pen,
you'd expect me to throw it away.
You'd expect me to throw it away.
Away, yes. Above all, más que sobre todas las otras cosas. So don't forget, we need plenty of paper, pencils, rulers, etc. for the exam. But above all, we need pens. Danielle, give me an example of above all. It doesn't have to be that one, but it can be. Yes.
Don't forget, we need plenty of paper,
pencils, and rulers
for exam.
For the exam.
For the exam, but above all, we need
pens. Yes. What do we mean by a sharp knife, Fernando? What do we mean by a sharp knife? By a sharp knife?
By a sharp knife, we mean that
one which has
an
edge
that cuts well.
Not cuts well, cuts well.
Cuts well.
What's the opposite of sharp, Nancy? What's the opposite of sharp? The opposite of sharp?
The opposite of sharp is
not blunt, blunt. Yes, Fernando.
What is the difference in the sound de sangre con blunt, con this blunt? Sangre, ¿cómo se dice? Blunt también.
Say again.
Sangre, the
Ah,
sound.
blood.
Blood.
Blood. Blunt. 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 Hello, Marcos? We can hear you. We can hear you.
Hello?
Hello, yes. Yes, we can hear you. Can you hear me, Marcos?
No, lo escucho muy mal, no sé qué le pasa, pero bueno, me escucho.
Okay, good. How do we sharpen a blunt axe, Fernando? How do we sharpen a blunt axe? We sharpen,
A black axe.
not a black axe, a blunt
And blunt axe
axe
is
by grinding it.
Sharpened the rock
With a stone, grinding it with
or
a
the
stone.
stone.
Yeah. What is flour, Daniel? What is flour? Flour is wheat or corn.
Flour is wheat or corn
That-
that has been grounded,
Not grounded, that has been ground into,
that has been ground into the powder.
not a powder.
Powder.
Yes. Do you think you should be allowed to do whatever you want, if it doesn't harm anybody else? Do you think you should be allowed to do whatever you want if it doesn't harm anybody else, Marcos? Yes or no? Can you hear us, Marcos? No, he's frozen now. Yep, so we'll pass the question to Nancy. Do you think you should be allowed to do whatever you want if it doesn't harm anybody else, Nancy? Yes.
Yes,
I think you should be allowed
I think we should be allowed
to do whatever we want.
to do whatever we don't,
Whatever we want.
whatever we
Want.
whatever
What?
we want.
If it doesn't harm anybody else. If it
If it
doesn't harm
doesn't harm
anybody else.
anybody else.
Which do you think is the... Hello, Marcos. Yes, we can hear you. Yes. Which do you think is the most harmful creature on Earth, Marcos? Which do you think is the most harmful creature on Earth? I think
The rats, they are from,
the most harmful creatures
is the most harmful animals,
on Earth.
creatures
Yes, it's cutting a lot.
all
Marcus.
over.
Yeah. Which do you think's the most harmless creature, Fernando? Which do you think's the most harmless creature on Earth? I think,
the butterfly, se dice mariposa.
yes, butterfly is the most
Butterfly
harmless,
is the most
harmless creature, harmless
harmless
creature on Earth,
creature on the earth.
not Earth, on Earth. Seen
Earth.
without
Earth.
breathing. Yeah. If you ate some vegetables straight from the garden without washing them first, do you think it would do you any harm, Daniel? If you ate some vegetables straight from the garden without washing them first, do you think it would do you any harm? Yes or no?
Yes.
If
If
I
I
ate
ate
some vegetables straight from the garden,
without washing,
washing them first,
washing him
them
first,
first, I
I
think
think I
would do me
you any harm.
it would do me some harm. It would do me some harm. Yes. Do we always use the question form when asking a question in English, Marcos? Do we always use the question form when asking a question in English? No, we don't always.
Use the
Oh, se está cortando mal, Marcos.
form
¿Sí?
when in a question in English.
Se está cortando. Escucho
Pero-
dos palabras nomás.
No.
¿Sí?
¿Estás lejos del router, Marcos?
A ver.
Si puedes abrir la puerta, puede ser que
Claro.
funcione un poco mejor. If you open the door. Okay, so Do we always use the question form when asking a question in English, Fernando? Do we always use the question form when asking a question in English? No, we don't always
No, we don't always
use the question form
the question form
when asking a question in English.
when asking a question in English.
When don't we use the question form, Nancy? When don't we use the question form? We don't use the question form
We don't use the question form
when a question word,
when a question word
such as who, which, or what,
such as which, who, or what
is the subject of the verb.
is the subject of the verb.
So, for example, who is going to pay the bill? Give me an example, Nancy. Who is
Who is
going to pay
pay
the bill?
the bill?
The bill, yes. Iron. What do we use to iron our clothes, Danielle? What do we use to iron our clothes? We use an iron.
We use an iron to iron our clothes.
Do you iron your clothes yourself, or does someone else iron them for you, Fernando? Do you iron your clothes yourself, or does someone else iron them for you? I iron my clothes.
I iron someone else.
Okay, so someone else irons my clothes
Else iron my clothes
for me.
for me.
Name a region of the world that experiences extreme weather conditions, Nancy. Name a region of the world that experiences extreme weather conditions. The Antarctic
The Antarctic
is a region of the world
is a region of the world
that experiences
that experiences
extreme weather conditions.
extreme weather conditions.
Yes. Okay, so what do you think is the best way to reduce one's weight, Danielle? What do you think is the best way to reduce one's weight? I think the best way
to reduce one's
One's weight
weight
is
keep the mouth closed.
yes, that's a good idea. Yes. Are you likely to be here next week, Fernando? Are you likely to be here next week? Yes, I'm likely.
I'm likely to be here the next week.
Next week. Marcos, can we hear you now? Yes. It sounds better. Do you think it's likely to rain in the next 24 hours, Marcos? Do you think it's likely to rain in the next 24 hours? No, I don't think.
No, I don't think it's likely to rain
in the next
24 hours.
Do you think it's highly unlikely that you will go through the entire winter next year without catching a single cold? Do you think it's highly unlikely that you will go through the entire winter next year without catching a single cold, Fernando? Yes, I think.
No,
I don't think it's unlikely
I don't think it's unlikely.
that I will go through the entire winter,
Wait,
that I will go through
I'll go through
the entire winter
the entire winter
without catching a single cold.
without catching a single
cold. A single cold.
cold.
Sure. When we give something to someone or do someone a favor and they say thank you, what can we reply, Nancy? When we give something to someone or do someone a favor and they say thank you, what can we reply? When we give something to someone,
When we give something someone
to someone, something to someone, or do someone a favor,
or to someone a favor,
and they say thank you,
and they say thank you,
we can reply.
we can reply,
That's
you are
okay.
welcome.
You're
That's
welcome.
okay. Don't mention it. No problem.
Very good. You've
So
studied. Excellent. You've studied well, Nancy. You've studied well. When we add the word up to a verb, what meaning does it sometimes give the verb? When we add the word up to a verb, what meaning does it sometimes give the verb, Danielle? When we add the word up to a verb,
When we add the verb the word
up
up to a
to a
verb
verb, it sometimes adds the meaning
is sometimes
at the
of
meaning
to
doing
complete
the action more
doing
completely.
the action more completely.
Yes. So give me an example, Danielle. I'm cutting the loaf of bread
I cutting the loaf of bread into
parts.
halves.
Yeah.
Halves.
Halves, yeah. Or I'm cutting the bread up.
And cutting the bread up means cutting completely.
Yep, cutting into lots of small pieces. Okay,
More
so
piece.
well, let's continue. I think Marcus is on a journey. Okay, so what's this, Fernando? What's this? It's your
Is you are training
your cheek.
cheek,
Your
your
cheek.
cheek with your finger.
Yeah,
Your
okay,
thumb.
sure. But what is it? It's a cheek.
A cheek, a cheek.
When you were a child, were you always polite with adults, or were you sometimes a bit cheeky, Nancy? When you were a child, were you always polite with adults, or were you sometimes a bit cheeky? When I was a child,
When I was a child,
I was
correct. With
always
adults,
polite
always polite with
I-
adults.
with adults. I was never
I was never cheeky.
cheeky. Yes.
Cheeky.
Okay. So, what am I doing, Danielle? What am I doing? You are piling books.
You are piling book on the top of the other.
Yeah, one book on top of the other. So, what is a heap? What is a heap, Danielle? A heap is
A heap is an untidy
not
pile.
not untidy pile.
Untidy pile.
Pile. So, tidy is Federico, untidy Desperico. Hello, Marcos. Can you hear me? No.
Sigue, profe.
Yeah, we've lost him again. When you go to bed at night, do you ever just leave your clothes in a heap on the floor instead of putting them away? When you go to bed at night, do you ever just leave your clothes in a heap on the floor instead of putting them away, Fernando? Yes or no?
No.
Yes. Yes. When I go to bed at
Yes.
night,
When I go to bed
at
the
night, I sometimes
I sometimes put my clothes in
a heap
the heap
instead of putting them away.
instead of putting on the wall.
Not putting them away, putting them away.
Putting them away.
Away. Yes. What do we use to sharpen the point of a pencil, Nancy? What do we use to sharpen the point of a pencil? We use
We use
a pencil sharpener
a pencil sharpener
or
knife
to
to
sharpen the point.
sharpen the point of the pencil.
Yeah. Hello, Marcos. No, very quiet. No. What's the boiling point of water, Daniel? What's the boiling point of water? The boiling point of water?
The boiling point of water is 100 degrees.
Degrees, yes. At what temperature does water freeze, Fernando? At what temperatures does water freeze?
Water
freezes
freezes at now of
Zero.
zero
degrees.
Centigrade no, ¿cómo era?
Degrees
centigrade
centigrade,
Or-
yes.
or
Or 32 degrees
32 degrees Fahrenheit.
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 Yes.
Fahrenheit.
Does the freezing point of water rise or fall if salt is added to it, Nancy? Does the freezing point of water rise or fall if salt is added to it? The freezing point of water
The freezing point of water
falls
falls
if salt
if salt
is
is added
to it.
to it.
Hello, Marcos. No, still problems with Marcos. When you have an insect bite. Hello?
Sí, se corta internet. Tengo 3 internet.
Wow. Yeah. So
Y se apaga la cámara, no nada de eso.
Sí,
Ahora sí.
sí,
Lo único que apague la cámara.
sí, apaga la cámara. So, when you have an insect bite that's itching a lot, do you scratch it or try to leave it alone, Marcos? When you have an insect bite that's itching a lot, do you scratch it or try to leave it alone? When I have... No, Fernando, when I have
When I have
an
an insect
bite
an insect bite
that is
that
itching a
is
lot,
itching a lot,
I
¿cómo se llama? Crash.
scratch it.
I scratch it.
Yes. What am I doing, Nancy? What am I doing? You are scratching
Scratching your cheek
with your...
with your finger.
Yes, like Fernando was saying earlier. Do we usually have to scrape off the old paint from a wooden door before painting it again? Do we usually have to scrape the old paint off a wooden door before painting it again, Daniel? Yes, we usually have to.
Yes, we usually have to scrape off
The
the whole
old paint from a wooden door
from a wooden door
before
painting it again.
again, yes. When young children are running around, do they often fall over and scrape their knees? When children are running around, do they often fall over and scrape their knees, Fernando? Yes, when young
Yes.
children
When the young children
are running around,
running around,
they often
and often fall
over
and
and scrape
scrape their neck,
their knees. Their knees.
their knees.
Yes. What does the idiom "it never rains but it pours" mean, Nancy? What does the idiom "it never rains but it pours" mean? The idiom "it never rains
The idiom never rain,
but it pours"
but
means
it pours means
when one bad thing happens,
when one bad
Thing.
something happens,
a lot of other
a lot of other
bad things happen too.
bad things happen too.
So, yeah, give me an example, Nancy. One thing went wrong
One thing went wrong
after another,
after another.
but it's always the same.
Okay?
It's always the same.
It's always the same.
It never rains, but it pours.
It never rains,
But it pours.
but it pours.
Pours. Hello, Marcos. Are you there?
Hello, are you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes.
Esperemos que sí, bien.
Okay, so in English, Marcos, now. Okay, would you say that the more we learn, the happier we become, Marcos? Would you say that the more we learn, the happier we become? Yes or no?
Yes,
Yes, I'd say
when
that.
I learn,
I'd,
I say that
the more we learn,
the way we learn,
the happier we become.
the happier become.
Yes, give me an example of the sooner the better, Daniel. Give me an example, the sooner the better. The sooner Marcos sorts his internet,
Marcos, we get the
internet working,
internet, no, the best internet, the better.
the better, yes. The sooner he replaces his provider, the better. Yes. Hello. Yes. At about what age do you feel that a person should be considered by law to be responsible for their own actions, Fernando? At what age do you feel that a person should be considered by law to be responsible for their own actions? I feel that
16
okay,
age,
people should be considered by law, or a person should be considered by law
considered responsible for law
for their own actions.
for their own actions.
Well, what's a local town council responsible for, Nancy? What's a local town council responsible for? A local town council,
A local town council
is responsible for
is responsible for the cleaning the streets,
streets, yeah, looking after
looking
after public buildings,
after public buildings,
and
and so on.
yes, okay. So, Marcos, do some people scream?
Salva.
Do some people scream with fright during horror films, Marcos? Do some people scream with fright during horror films? Yes, some people.
Yes, some people scream
With fright,
with fright during from the horror film.
not during horror films.
During horror films.
Yes. Have you ever been frightened by strange noises during the night, Daniel? Have you ever been frightened by strange noises during the night? Yes or no?
Yes, I
Been frightened
ever
by strange noises
by train noise during the night
during the
when I
night?
went with Hugh to New York.
Ah, okay. What happened? Why were there strange noises during the night?
Hubo sounds, ¿cómo se dice? Mi tía,
My aunt.
my friend,
A lot
sonidos raros.
Ah, a
Roncaba mucho.
little bit of snoring.
Snowing. No.
Snoring, not snowing, snoring.
Snoring, yeah.
No
Yes.
me voy a acordar que ahora lo tengo yo, Luguito, 15 días.
Okay, the word mean. What's the meaning of mean, Fernando? Mean?
Tacaño, mezquino.
Yes. Yeah, and also cruel, un poco cruel. Yeah.
Cruel.
Do you know anybody who's so mean that they never buy presents for their family, Fernando? Do you know anybody who's so mean they never buy presents for their family? Yes or no?
No,
I don't know anybody
anybody
who is
that
so mean
with so mean
they never
they never
buy
with
presents
their family,
for their family.
by present or family,
For their family. For
all the family.
yes. Nancy, are young children sometimes very mean to one another at school? Are young children sometimes very mean to one another at school? Yes, young children
Yes, young children
are sometimes
are sometimes
very mean to one another,
very mean to
one another
another
at school.
at school.
Okay, the word thoughtless. Yeah, somebody who doesn't think about other people is thoughtless. So what do we mean by a thoughtless person, Marcos? What do we mean by a thoughtless person? By a thoughtless person,
By a thoughtless person,
we usually mean someone
we usually mean someone
who acts
who
without
acts
considering
without considering
how other people
how-
might feel.
how other people might feel.
Yes. Pale, pálido, sickness, una enfermedad. What can make a person's face turn pale, Marcos? What can make a person's face turn pale? Fright,
Fright, fear, sickness,
sickness, and bad internet
Sickness.
connection
and internet connection.
Yes. can make
Can
a
make
person's
A
face
person face turn pale.
pale. Yes. When we add the suffix ish to an adjective, it means rather or more or less. For example, France is not exactly a big country like Russia or the USA, but it is big-ish compared with countries like England or Scotland. What meaning does the suffix ish give when we add it to an adjective, Daniel? What meaning does the suffix ish give when we add it to an adjective? The suffix ish
Suffix ish gives the meaning of the rather
or
more or
more or
less
less when we add it
Less.
to.
when we add it to an adjective.
Give me an example, Fernando. Give me an example.
The door is not exactly green,
Green, but it is
but is greenish.
greenish. Yes. Give me another example, Nancy. Give me another example. Okay, so
Table is the table is
Big-ish.
biggish.
Big-ish,
Big.
yes, and this pencil is smallish. Yeah.
Smallish.
We can also use the suffix ish to mean about when we say the time of day. For example, if someone says they will come to your house at 8-ish, it means about 8 o'clock. Okay, give me an example, Nancy. Give me an example. What time did you wake up today? I woke up today.
I woke up today
At
at 8-ish.
8-ish. Yes, yeah, very good. Okay, the word light. Okay, light, encender, prender, que prende fuego. Candle
Ah,
significa
Fuego.
una luz, but as a verb, encender, ¿sí? Or
Mm.
prender
¿Se podría decir
fuego.
light the light?
Light the light, exactly. You can say light the light. Yeah, suena un poco raro, but you can say it.
Ah,
In English, it sounds fine. Yeah, sounds
Light the
perfectly
light.
okay to say, I'm going to light the light. Yeah, or I'm going to light the candle. Yeah. Normally, when we talk about it, we think more about a flame. So if you said I'm going to light the light, probably we're thinking about like a torch or something like that with a flame. Yeah. Okay. So the word candle, what's the meaning of candle, Danielle? Candle?
Una vela.
Una vela. Yeah. And failure. What's the meaning of failure, Marcos? Talking about internet connections.
my internet connection failure.
Is a failure.
It's
So
very
it's,
baddish. It's very
Yeah.
baddish.
it's certainly not goodish.
No goodish. Yes.
Yeah. So
Right.
so failure is a noun. So you say my internet connection is a failure. Yeah. So the verb is to fail. So my internet connection is failing.
Failure. Failure. Yes.
Is failing. It is a
yeah.
failure. So do you keep any candles at home in case there's a failure in the electricity supply, Marcos? Do you keep any candles at home in case there's a failure in the electricity supply? Yes or no?
No, I
don't keep any
I
candles
don't keep any candles at home
in case there is
there's failure
in the electricity supply. Yes. What are the three forms?
I connect the group ¿cómo que se llama el grupo electrógeno?
Okay, so the generator.
Generator.
Yeah.
I connect the generator.
Oh, okay. So Danielle, what are the three forms of light? What are the three forms of light? The three forms
of light are light,
lit,
lit.
yeah, lit, yeah. Have you ever lit a fire, Daniel? Have you ever lit a fire? Yes, of course.
Yes, when I go to make a barbecue.
Yes, yeah. So I light the fire when I make a barbecue. Yes. What kind of things do you think make a party a failure, Fernando? What kind of things do you think make a party a failure? I think the kind of things
that
that make a party
a failure
are
are the fire of light.
is, yeah.
Fire, el corte de luz, fire.
Okay, yeah. So a failure in the lights. Yeah.
Fire, the light.
Yeah. Not enough wine, maybe.
Sorry?
Not enough wine, maybe.
No enough wine.
Yeah.
Or a lot of beer.
Wine, sonda, sonda.
Yeah. No, not wind. Wine.
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 Not
Yes.
enough wine.
Not
Not enough wine.
No.
Not enough.
Not enough wine, not enough beer.
And bad music. Bad music. Does that make
Bad
it?
music.
Bad music.
And music.
Bad music.
The people fight.
Bad weather.
Uncle drunk.
Yes.
The
Yeah.
Yo borracho, como se dice.
Yes, sir. Drunk people or drunk guests.
Drunk people.
Yeah. Okay. So last thing, and then we'll change over to the next part. So upset. Okay. So upset means if you say my plans are upset, it means they're not going to happen. Something's happened to stop your plans from happening. Okay. Also, upset means to fall over. So by accident. So if you have a glass of wine and you hit it with your hand accidentally, you upset the glass of wine. Also, upset means sad or triste. Yeah, so if I'm feeling a little bit upset, maybe because my cat died today, I will be feeling a bit upset. We can also say an upset stomach. So if you eat something that is not good, the next day you have an upset stomach. So it means generally things not going the way you want them to go. Okay? So what would it mean if I said my plans for the future have all been upset by the interference of my father? What would it mean if I said my plans for the future have all been upset by the interference of my father, Marcos? If you said,
If you said
my plans for the future
my plans for the future
have all been
have
upset
all been upset
by the
by
interference of my
interference
father,
of my father,
you would mean
that they have not
agreed
we agree
with your plans.
plans
And
and
you had
we
to
made to change them.
then, yes. If you upset a glass of red wine over someone, what would you say and do, Nancy? If you upset a glass of red wine over someone, what would you say and do? If I upset a glass of wine,
If I upset
a glass of
a
wine
glass of wine
over somebody,
over somebody,
I'd say,
I say,
I'm terribly sorry.
I'm terribly sorry.
And I would offer to pay,
And I owe,
I
and
would
I
offer
would offer
to pay
to pay the
the cleaning of the clothes.
cleaning of the clothes.
If I said I was feeling very upset today, what would I mean, Danielle? If I said I was feeling very upset today, what would I mean? If you said you were feeling
If you said you are feeling upset today,
you would mean
you mean that you were not happy because something
unpleasant, not unpleasant, unpleasant.
unpleasant had happened.
Yes, yes. So maybe my cat died. Yeah, my wife wouldn't be upset. She would be very happy. We have a problem with a neighbor's cat doing wee-wee all over the place. My wife doesn't like cats at the moment, so she would not be upset if the cat died. Okay, so let's leave and come back in Zoom 2. So see you all in 1 minute, okay?
Okay.
Okay.